So you guys may be asking, why am I doing this again? And to that, I respond with, what do you mean? This is my first time doing this. In all seriousness, the first video I did last year wasn't bad by any means. It's just the fact that I know I can do better. 70% of that video was just a long plot summary, and that's not really acceptable, especially since I'm honestly looking at one of my favorite films of all time. So that's why we're here. You probably heard me say this movie is a masterpiece, but today I'll tell you why I think that way. I'm going to tell you people why The Prince of Egypt isn't only one of the greatest animated films, but one of the greatest films ever made. Don't worry, I'm not giving a full plot synopsis. Yeah, that's not true. For the story, I mean both the plot of the film and the behind the scenes. Jeffrey Katzenberg wanted to make an animated film retelling the story of Cecil B. DeMille's 1956 classic, The Ten Commandments. He tried to make it a reality over at Disney, but it never really went anywhere. He brought up the idea to do the film during a meeting with Steven Spielberg. During the meeting, Spielberg looked at Katzenberg and said, "You ought to do that 10 Commandments."
A couple of seconds, and he sort of leaned forward and he said, "Well, why don't we do the 10 Commandments?"
Once DreamWorks was founded in 1994, he was able to put his idea into production. Jeffrey Katzenberg wanted to make this movie the best it could be. Katzenberg called in biblical scholars, Christians, Jewish, and Arab American leaders to help his film be more accurate to the original story. 350 artists from 34 different countries were hired. Some were even from Disney. This was supposed to be DreamWorks' magnum opus, the film people will refer to when someone says the name DreamWorks. For the most part, yeah, it was. The film was released on December 18, 1998, grossing over $2 million worldwide, while also winning an Oscar for Best Original Song. I have a section dedicated to music later, so we'll get back to that soon. As you can see, the movie got attention, but The Prince of Egypt isn't the movie everyone thinks of when someone says DreamWorks. It's most likely Shrek. Don't get me wrong, I love Shrek, but the amount of time and dedication put into this film was phenomenal and deserves way more praise than it got. So here's the story of how this movie caught my eye. Back in 2017, I watched a video by the Nostalgia Critic. He was doing an episode comparing the 1956 Ten Commandments and The Prince of Egypt. Surprisingly, he gave nothing but praise to The Prince of Egypt, and I thought to myself, there's no way this film could be that good. A few months passed, I watched the movie on Netflix, and the way this film made me feel was beyond words. This movie was able to do something I wasn't expecting in the slightest. I tried to review this movie on multiple occasions, but it never really came to fruition. Even when I did try to make one, so much more could have been said. I think 4 years is enough time for me to get my act together. I rewatched this film several times to make sure this video could be the best it could be. So without further interruption, it's time for me to go into why I think The Prince of Egypt is a masterpiece. The beginning of the movie is so unforgiving. It's damn near uncomfortable to watch sometimes. This one shot of this man falling to the ground and his hand reaches up to the sky is what got me. I know I covered this a few months ago in my cinematography video, but I gotta say some of these shots blow my mind. It's so gorgeous. Everything in this film is huge, which I really think helps the film in the opening. It shows the dangerous works the Hebrews were put through in this film. Okay, for real this time. In fear of the Hebrews' growing population, the Pharaoh commits mass genocide on the Hebrews by slaughtering their children. Although they don't show them doing it, it's still pretty disturbing. One mother refuses to let this happen to a child, so she sends her son in a basket flowing through the river until someone finds him. Luckily enough, the wife of the Pharaoh finds the boy and decides to adopt him, giving them the name Moses. Oh yeah, this shot is beautiful.
Master, take the chains off me.
So years pass with Moses and Ramesses being teenagers, doing their usual teenage thing, like destroying the Pharaoh's kingdom. Unintentionally though. This scene is pretty fun, not gonna lie. The Pharaoh's upset with both of them, but he seems more angry with Ramesses, seeing how he's supposed to be the man who carries his father's legacy when he passes.
Responsible. And do you know the meaning of that word, Ramesses?
I understand, Father.
Later, Moses tries to make Ramesses feel better, which does work, but makes them late for the banquet. So they whisk their way down to find out that the banquet already started. Ramesses is promoted to priest regent due to Moses feeling like Ramesses needed the opportunity. So the high priest gives Moses and Ramesses a show. This is where we introduce Zipporah.
Let us inspect this desert flower. More like a desert cobra.
After Zipporah is embarrassed by Moses, she's sent to Moses' room, only for her to escape moments later. Even though Moses could have stopped her, he decides to let her escape. He follows her up until Moses runs into his sister Miriam. Miriam tries to tell Moses about who he truly is, but Moses refuses to listen. Even dares to punish Miriam. Moses walks off but pauses after hearing Miriam sing a song from his mother. The same song Moses' mother sang to him the day she let him go. Moses runs off confused. He immediately heads back home to convince himself that he is the Prince of Egypt. Once Moses falls asleep, he has a dream about the day of the mass genocide committed by the Pharaoh. And this is where Moses learns about his mother and how she gave him up. If that scene wasn't unsettling enough, once Moses wakes back up, he rushes to the hieroglyphics to see if what the Pharaoh did was true. And to his shock, Moses finds out that his dream was a reality. What makes the scene more disturbing is the fact that the Pharaoh enters in from the shadows, and we see Moses lose all respect for the man he once called father.
Oh, my son. They were only slaves.
The next morning, his mother tries to speak to him, to make him understand that he shouldn't take it personally, which is probably like the worst thing to tell him, but hey, they hug it out. And we immediately cut to Ramesses planning to rebuild his father's kingdom. As Moses walks by the slaves, he feels disturbed knowing that they are his people. His nerves get the best of him after hearing a man being beaten. Moses runs over there with the mindset to help, but he accidentally kills the man. Of course, a situation like this traumatizes Moses, and his first reaction is to run. With not too many options, Moses decides to leave, with Ramesses trying to convince him to stay, even trying to sweep the accident under the rug, but nothing works out. What makes the scene what it is the fact that Ramesses is trying everything in his power to make Moses stay. It just shows how strong their relationship is, so it makes everything here so heartbreaking.
Moses? Please. Goodbye, brother. Moses! Moses!
Some of these shots, man. This movie is just great to look at. Moses walks aimlessly for days until his sandal rips off. This is where Moses ditches everything that was given to him as a prince. And to make matters worse, he's buried under a sandstorm. Hours later, he's dragged out by a camel, who leads him to a water hole, where Moses runs into 3 girls being robbed. After Moses helped the girls, he falls into a well. The girls try to help him out later on with the help of Zipporah, but once she finds out that it's him, she just lets him fall back down. Moses makes his way out eventually and meets Jethro, who convinces Moses that there's more to life than he thinks. So Moses takes that advice to heart. He becomes a shepherd and marries Zipporah. And for the most part, life seems to be going good for Moses.
Good morning. Good morning.
The next morning hits, and Moses is doing his usual morning chores, until he has one sheep that wanders into a cave, so Moses follows. To his surprise, he finds a burning bush. He walks out to the bush confused. He touches the bush with his staff in his hand and nothing seems to faze it, until Moses hears someone calling for him.
Who are you?
I am that I am.
God informs Moses that he's here to retrieve his people from slavery, and God chooses Moses to talk to the Pharaoh. Moses is confused at first and wonders why he, out of all people, were chosen for this. God tells Moses that he will help him in his journey to the Pharaoh, and just like that, Moses' adventure begins, alongside his wife.
I'm coming with you.
As soon as we hit the Pharaoh's kingdom, we automatically see how bad it's gotten for the Hebrews. Moses makes it to the Pharaoh's palace to find out that Ramesses has taken over as Pharaoh.
Moses! Where have you been? I took you for dead.
Ramesses tries to forgive Moses for all crimes he's committed, even making him the Prince of Egypt again. This makes the scene more upsetting to watch because we all know what's about to happen. Moses lets Ramesses know that he was sent by God to fear his people. Ramesses just takes it as a joke at first, so he pulls him back to have a chat with him.
My people. And I can no longer hide in the desert while they suffer. at your hands.
I do not know this god. Neither will I let your people go.
Ramses is upset that Moses came back for his people and not him. So Ramses turns on Moses and doubles the workload for the slaves, which of course makes him mad. Moses tries to win over the heart of the Hebrews, but telling them that he's here to help them, until Miriam helps Moses and gives him the talk that he needs to get going. Moses gets back on his feet and walks back up to the Pharaoh, and demands that he let his people go. He refused once again, but this time Ramses sends his men out to capture Moses. Before they can get him, Moses turns the Nile into blood, which scares everyone until the high priest do the same thing, by faking it. So Ramses pays no mind. Little does Ramses know, things are about to get crazy.
Believe, for we will see God's wonders.
This is where the plagues start to take place, starting with frogs, lice, the cattle dying, boils, hail, locusts, and darkness all around the Pharaoh's palace. But the Pharaoh still refuses to free his people. Moses is aware what the final plague is, so he's trying everything in his power to change Ramses' mind. He heads up to Ramses' palace to talk everything out. I like how Ramses tries to think of all the bad things Moses did, but he instantly remembers all the good times they had together in such a sweet way.
But then, you were always there to get me out of trouble again.
Why can't things be the way they were before?
Ramses' son walks up and switches Ramses' attitude. Moses again tries to reason with him, but Ramses refuses to listen. He even threatens to commit another genocide on the Hebrews. Moses tried everything he could, but he had no choice but to let the final plague happen. The final plague is the death of the firstborn, but the ones who mark their door down with the lamb's blood would be left alone. For a kids film, this is honestly the creepiest part of the film. What makes the scene more unsettling is the cries of hundreds of people who lost their firstborn. Ramses loses his only child and doesn't even know how to convey any emotions when Moses walks in. So with no other option, Ramses lets the Hebrews go.
You and your people have my permission to go.
Although Moses is glad that he accomplished what he was set out to do, he's still very hurt that Ramses wouldn't come to his senses. Miriam tries to make Moses feel better by singing him a song. Look, I've been on the script for 2 months now. I need to finish this sooner or later. When You Believe is such a great song. It puts you in a happy mood to see all the Hebrews finally free. After hours of walking, Moses and his people find a resting spot, and almost instantly Ramses is right on their tail. God temporarily stops Ramses and his army, and it's up to Moses to make a way for his people. This scene right here needs no words.
With this staff, you shall do my wonders.
So the Hebrews make their way across the Red Sea, and so far it's going well until the fire holding back Ramses and his army moves away, and they rush their way to Moses and his people. Moses' people rush their way to the end of the Red Sea. The army almost makes it to the Hebrews, but God closes the Red Sea on Ramses and his army, leaving Ramses in the middle of the sea. The Red Sea completely closes, and Moses and his people realize that they're finally free, and everyone hugs and cries. The one scene that gets me is when Moses hears Ramses in the distance. And he just simply responds with,
Goodbye, brother.
Nah, my heart isn't broken. You tripping. Zipporah tells Moses that he did it. He freed his people. And Moses smiles. As the movie comes to a close, Moses walks down with the 10 Commandments. Watching this movie for the first time, and I've told this story time and time again, but I fucking love this scene. I rewound it twice and I don't know why. It's something I love to experience for the first time again. This whole film was a pleasure to watch. It's why this film has a special place in my heart. We're not done just yet, just give me a few more minutes. Like I said earlier in this video, 350 artists were used for this film. Jeffrey Katzenberg wanted this movie to look the best it could be. Filmmakers even took a 2-week trip to Egypt to make sure this film looked accurate. I love that dedication. And to the film's credit, all that hard work paid off. I try not to go into cinematography because I have a section dedicated to that, but man, this film is gorgeous to look at. The animation team did an amazing job giving these characters so much emotion without overdoing it, if you know what I mean. In this scene where Ramesses mourns the loss of his son, of course you have the voice to let us know that he's just lost it all. But the lack of movement from Ramesses sells it and tells you that Ramesses has just given up. Most of the scenes that stick out to me are just scenes that involve Ramesses. You can just see in his face that he's going through it. I love his interaction with Moses and Ramesses when they meet again after all these years. The way Ramesses reacts to Moses telling him that he's not here to be his brother but his rival is such a realistic reaction.
Yes. I had hoped.
You see how quickly it hurts him and he almost instantly switches his attitude to become a villain.
Or is it thanks to you?
The scene involving the burning bush is something I love going back to. God's voice is soothing, and the amazing score behind Zimmer playing makes the scene what it is. The burning bush is beautiful to look at. It's so relaxing that you just don't want it to end. I couldn't find a proper way to answer this line, but I like the character designs for this film. One complaint that I've heard is that people think that the character design is off or too close to a Disney character, which doesn't help the company that at the time wanted to be better than Disney. Honestly, besides that one part with the camel, I dig these design choices, especially the design for older Moses. I don't know what it is, but it just clicks with me. When the film goes into a song number, you know the animation will be at its best. I'm talking about how it's animated, not the song itself. Not yet. Deliverer shows how brutal the work conditions were for the Hebrews. Like I said earlier, it's very unforgiving. Playing with the big boys is so well done. I love the art style they were going for with this one. Having everything be dark to only show the high priest's silhouette. To scare Moses by pulling off tricks and flashing lights to trick everybody. I love this one. The final one is the plague, where the animation really shows how beautiful it could be. For me to get into the scene, I have to dabble into cinematography, so we'll be right back for this one. But y'all know the scene is amazing. The mix between hand-drawn and CG in this film works so well. It's mainly for scenes that have a grand scope to it, like in the opening, where the Hebrews are lifting a statue, the parting of the Red Sea, or the Angel of Death. I love it when a film can use CG and make it work to the film's advantage.
It's a new style, and it's a very realistic style. So we're not drawing cartoony rabbits or mice, we're drawing real human beings. I think every animator puts a lot of himself in the character. We actually close our doors and act the scenes out before we start drawing them. Then we start to try to put it on paper.
From the opening shot to the end, this film looks gorgeous throughout. Great work for everyone involved. Now, animation is one thing. Does this film have the right voices for these characters? You're probably thrown off at how this is nothing but big name celebrities. Val Kilmer, Sandra Bullock, Jeff Goldblum. You have every right to think so, because one thing a few animated films do is grab a bunch of big name celebrities to boost ticket sales. But honestly, everyone in The Prince of Egypt does an amazing job at portraying the characters. Okay, I'll admit it, Jeff Goldblum sticks out like a sore thumb, man. He's not a bad actor by any means, but every time you hear Aaron's voice, I just hear Jeff Goldblum and it's distracting at some points. Val Kilmer does an amazing job with Moses. He brings so much emotion to this character. When the movie requires Moses to be miserable, dissatisfied, or afraid, Val Kilmer pulls it off perfectly. He also voices God in this film, just like in the 1956 film. Val Kilmer helps gives out that soothing voice you'd expect God to sound like in this film. He doesn't have too many lines here, but for the lines he has, he's great. Ralph Fiennes voices Ramesses, and he gives his best performance every time he's on the screen. The shift from Moses' brother to straight villain is so damn good. Ramesses is already a complex character. He's a man who still respects his brother, but he also has a kingdom to run, which causes Ramesses to become so blinded that he loses it all. Ralph Fiennes makes it to where we can sympathize with Ramesses and not completely hate him. Having Val Kilmer and Ralph Fiennes as the two main characters was such a great decision. Both actors play off each other well, giving these characters so much personality, and I love it. Sandra Bullock as Marion was something I wasn't expecting to be great at all. But Sandra Bullock works well for Marion. She gives the character such a big heart. She's always there for Moses to give him the advice he needs to hear, and it's the best part of her character.
God will not abandon you. So don't you abandon us.
There's not much to say about Marion though. She's great, but the main focus is on Moses and Ramesses. Let's see. Michelle Pfeiffer voices Zipporah. The same way I feel about Sandra Bullock is the exact same way I feel about Michelle Pfeiffer. Being that person that'll stand behind Moses' back even when everyone else isn't too thrilled to see him. Zipporah is a great character voiced by an amazing actress. I'm also finding out that she does the singing voice for Zipporah, and every other cast member has someone else singing for them. Patrick Stewart voices the Pharaoh, and to be honest, I didn't even know it was him until I searched it up. I like what he does here. I'd also refer to this where Moses and the Pharaoh speak to each other in the shadowy room. Patrick Stewart makes his character sound like a psychopath that thinks what he did was okay.
Moses, sometimes for the greater good, sacrifices must be made.
Patrick Stewart gave it his best in this film. Jethro is voiced by Danny Glover, and I think he does a great job with the little lines he has, but still good stuff. Lastly, we have Steve Martin and Martin Short voicing Hotep and Hoy. I wasn't expecting anything amazing from them, not because they're bad actors, it's just because they're not as important as everyone else. Nonetheless, I enjoyed their performance in this film. They're not over the top, and when the film needs Hotep and Hoy to be serious, they work perfectly, without feeling like they're trying too hard.
To me, it's very reminiscent of theater, which I spent a lot of time studying, and rhythms of speech and the importance of each phrase and the kind of work that I've rarely had a chance to do as an actor in film.
Overall, I think the voice cast did a great job. For any new viewer, you have nothing to fear. Everyone portrayed their roles perfectly. Well, you just have to get used to Jeff Goldblum. The part of the video I was excited to get to. Cinematography and animation, when it's done right, you get some of the most breathtaking moments in cinema. I made a video on that topic a while back. It's not perfect, but all I wanted to say in that video was pretty decent. The only difference is you'll hear me talk about the Prince of Egypt. The opening has two shots that stand out every time I think of it. This shot of the soldier looking down on the Hebrews looks so good. This is an overhead shot where the camera is focused on the Hebrews and shows the audience how many people are in this situation. The second shot is the ending of the musical number Deliver Us, where the camera slowly pans up and we see the statue of the pharaoh while also showing off more of the Egypt. This is just a simple pan shot, nothing more, nothing less, but it's beautiful. Definitely my second favorite shot. This movie uses cinematography in smarter ways too. More specifically to show off how a character is feeling. I'll always go back to this one scene where Moses and Ramesses are talking and try to come to an agreement, but Ramesses refuses to listen. Most films do this and it's no different here. When Ramesses starts to become more sadistic, we get a bunch of low angle shots. Even though we know Ramesses is bad news, the film makes him more tenser due to the proper angle choice. This film loves to use extreme wide shots, and I mean, why wouldn't they? Everything in this film is huge, which makes this film feel grander. I love this ending shot right here where Moses is simply walking off and you see the beautiful background, or the scene where Moses is stuck in the middle of the sandstorm. Stuff like that is just great. The scene where Moses is heading back to the Pharaoh's palace is great because of the shot of Moses making his way to the Pharaoh, and you see the look of determination on his face. A nice mix of the eye level shot and showing off the hard labor the Hebrews were put through. The shot is so well done to me. It's satisfying to see Moses choose this path after feeling guilty for what his father did. He knows what he has to do, showing us the Hebrews to show how bad it's gotten, and showing Moses to show who's here to stop it. Don't get me started on playing with the big boys. I love the way it looks. With having everything darkened and making some of these character silhouettes makes this scene more creepier than the song. The play is just amazing. Some of the most creative cinematography I've seen in the animated film. This scene of the statue being destroyed is great, but this shot of Ramesses is way too good. And if you didn't think this ending shot was great, you're probably lying. These last two shots I'm mentioning are both extreme wide shots, so here we go. In the scene where Ramesses is carrying his dead son, it gets me all the time. The lighting is on point and it fits the tone the scene is going for, mixed in with nothing but the cries of the parents losing their firstborns. This scene will make you feel something. The final thing I'll bring up is my favorite shot of the film. Pretty sure everyone saw this coming, but the parting of the Red Sea is beautiful. No other words can describe how breathtaking the scene was on the first watch. When everyone's walking through, it's gorgeous too, because you can see the fish swimming and even a well. This film is just amazing to look at.
The parting of the Red Seas is a huge challenge because it's such a pivotal point in the story, and if we didn't deliver the effects properly, it would have let down the story.
Parting of the Red Sea, it had to be huge. It had to have an incredible scale, had to be scary, it had to be magical, it had to be awe-inspiring. So what we've done is we've created an animated painting, effectively, in the Prince of Egypt, and we've brought the viewer into this environment and immersed them in this experience that you could never film and has never been seen before.
Cinematography is something that can make a film stand out from the rest, and this movie doesn't disappoint. Using some of the most impressive camera angles here makes this film grander in scope. Nothing feels off, everything works together perfectly. I feel like I said all I can say about cinematography, so let's go to my final talk point.
Till I get my money right.
This movie has one of the best sounding scores I've ever heard. Not only is it one of the best animated scores, but one of the best scores, period. The score was composed by Hans Zimmer, easily one of my favorite composers. And I don't care who your favorite is, every track fits the vibe of the scene perfectly. It gets louder when it needs to. It knows when to quiet down and let the animation do the storytelling. It can also work the other way, where no one is speaking and it's up to the music to tell the audience what's going on. Hans Zimmer put his foot in the score, man. My favorites being The Burning Bush, Moses Reviled, The Red Sea, and of course the ending piece. For The Burning Bush, it's the fact that it's so relaxing to listen to, and it fits the soft nature the scene is going for. Moses Reviled has this one part where they play this melody and I love it. The whole song is great, but I love that one part. The rest of it is just perfect throughout. Every part stands out, especially the grand moment itself. And the final piece is one of the most satisfying things to listen to, especially when you're watching the film for the first time. It makes you think of how the film started, when everything seemed hopeless, and it looked like no one was going to deliver them. And then we end the film off with the hero of the story slowly walking down the mountain, with his triumphant music playing, as a way for Moses without saying anything, feel like, yeah, I did do it. This movie is a musical. Each song was written by Stephen Schwartz, who's also responsible for writing songs for The Hunchback of Notre Dame, so you know the film is at least in good hands. I love almost every song in this film. The only problem is that some of the songs don't segue properly. Like the scene where Moses is upset about the death of the firstborns, and Miriam out of nowhere starts to sing. Even though it works and the song is really good, it feels like it could have segued better. My favorite segue is probably Playing with the Big Boys. I love when movies do this right. Ramses isn't impressed with Moses' trick, so he tells Hotep and Hoy to deal with him.
Very well, Moses. I'll play along.
Hotep, Hoy, give this snake charmer our answer.
I love it, bro. Just love it. Right, the songs. My favorites are Deliverous because it's the great start to the movie and shows the crew work they're put through. Through Heaven's Eyes is great because it's the song Moses needs to hear. My final favorite is The Plagues because of course it is. The way the choir sounds in the song helps push the fact that the situation is extremely chaotic and is honestly catchy. Had me listen to this song on a bus. Without a doubt, all the songs are great, but it's those songs that immediately pop into my head when I think of The Prince of Egypt. The songs help progress the story and don't make it feel like the movie's just on pause, so I can give the movie props for that. You already know this movie has to have big name artists in the film. Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey sing the main song When You Believe. Both artists did an amazing job on the song. Every time I hear this song, I just think to myself, man, Whitney Houston is such a phenomenal singer. Oh my gosh, she does an amazing job here. Rest in peace to a queen, man. You also have Boyz II Men for this film, and Casey and JoJo, here to make this amazing soundtrack even more beautiful to listen to. The soundtrack was so good that it won an Oscar for When You Believe, the war show where Whitney Houston looked back in confusion.
Stephen Schwartz for When You Believe from The Prince of Egypt. Stephen Schwartz is very sorry that he cannot be.
I know it was a thing in the late 90s to have R&B singers in their soundtrack, but it works so well here. This is what happens when you have nothing else to write about. Overall, this soundtrack is too good. I swear, you can't listen to it by itself. It'll make you want to watch the movie, I promise. This has some of Hans Zimmer's best work. It made me a fan of all his other works too. The songs are well written, they don't overstay their welcome, and they're not too short to where they leave me wanting more. Then of course we had the wonderful R&B singers to make an already great soundtrack even better, giving some of their best vocals for the film. Props to everyone involved. I think that's all my talk points. We made it to the end.
The Prince of Egypt Holiday Gift Package, a real value the whole family can share. Only at Walmart.
This is going to make somebody's holiday very special.
I remember 2016 and early 2017 being some of the most stressful times of my life. Shit, it seemed like everything was going downhill. I started my freshman year in high school, and that was the worst. But one thing I always remembered is that I had a bad confidence issue that followed me all through my high school year, and sadly even now. I gave up on a lot of things I was passionate about, even thought my dream of being a filmmaker was going to happen. When late 2017 hit, I watched this film for the first time, and it blew my mind. It rekindled my love for cinema so damn quick. That's why this film is so important to me. Movies can make you feel and reflect on what you watched, and that's what I love about it. To think an animated film can make me realize what cinema is all about is a beautiful thing. This movie didn't make everything in my life amazing, but it helped me realize why movies will always be important to me. The Prince of Egypt is a masterpiece. The story is beautiful, emotional, and satisfying, giving these characters so much personality and heart that makes them feel so relatable. Some of the most gorgeous animation I've seen, amazing acting all around, yes, even Jeff Goldblum, breathtaking cinematography, and a lovely soundtrack where you can feel all the emotion behind the music. I know me talking about this film for this long is probably annoying, and you probably think I'm digging way too deep into this, which if that's the case, why are you even watching? But this film was able to make me love movies again, and it'll only grow stronger over time. You're gonna hear me say this a lot, but any movie that can make you think or feel is a masterpiece.
My favorite colors, all my favorite colors, yes ma'am. My sisters and my brothers, see them like no other, all my favorite colors. It's a good day to be, a good day for me, a good day to see my favorite colors. My sisters and my brothers, they see them like no other. All my favorite colors.
Okay, so I'm done, but I have something to talk about. My New Year's resolution has nothing to do with my channel. It more so has something to do about my personal life. Like I said, self-confidence is something I want to change this year. I feel like I can fix that. So it's been, I want to say, years since I last showed my face on camera. But anyways, like, one of my New Year's resolution goals was to have more confidence in myself, right? So I planned a few things to like try to fix that situation, you know? Like first, I wasn't like a big fan of showing off my face on camera. So I bought a green screen. This is my second Christmas gift. So I can do backgrounds like this, like this, like this, and I can just, you know, show off my face sometimes. Not all the time, because that's gonna take a long time to do. Yeah, that's one of the few changes that's gonna happen with this channel. Second change is that I wanted to change my name from Timothy Reviews Revival to just Timothy Reviews. I'm so tired of people saying revival. It just doesn't sound right anymore. I changed my character stills and the logo changed, which it's gonna be showed off like in the channel banner, because I don't feel like waiting until next video to fix that. In terms of my new videos and stuff like that, I wanted to kind of step away from cartoons and stuff. Like, I don't mind reviewing cartoons, but I don't want to be known for that. I like film, you know, which this whole video was pretty much kind of like telling you guys how I feel about it. And I want to review more games. Like, I'm pretty sure most of y'all didn't know I was a Kingdom Hearts fan. Like, a casual, let me not pretend like I'm a huge one. I want to review more Sonic games, of course. Even the Sonic shows, like Sonic Underground, Sonic Sat AM, or even Sonic X, if that actually ever happens. But yeah, the whole reason for this is just to, like, feel more confident, you know? Like, this video was supposed to come out in Christmas, and I don't know what was keeping me from uploading it, or even, like, getting started on it. Because every time I wanted to go into my script and write something, I couldn't do it. So it's just resulted in this video taking way too long to come out. Me, like, deleting a lot of stuff in the script. Just a mess. But I wanted to be more confident when I write and just, like, be happy, you know, about what I make. That probably means videos are going to take longer to come out, but it's going to be worth it to me. Last but not least, I wanted to talk about how my 2021 went. In terms of the channel, it was pretty decent. I started a few things, but I also started way too many things that honestly took the fun out of just reviewing stuff. like the whole Disney Channel marathon. It's like, I like watching the shows, but it's like, I don't want that to be my whole channel, you know? That doesn't mean I'm gonna stop it, just, you know, I'm not gonna be as consistent with it anymore. Also, I have a video plan. I recently got a PS2 and I bought a few games. As a matter of fact, hold up. I don't know, I bought a few of these, right? And I want to make a video of that. That's kind of about it. I want to thank everybody who I've worked with this year. I'm going to show you next month again, but I want to thank all you guys. People who supported me, the people who shouted me out. You guys are really fun. You guys are awesome. And hopefully this year I won't take a 2-month break and, you know, we can make more videos. Yeah, that's about it. I have much to say. So, thanks for watching and see you next video.